Today, I am incredibly excited to have Catherine Crane here with us, and we're going to be talking about the catalyst for growth. What is that catalyst for growth like? Where does that come from? What should you do? And Catherine's going to share her story and her journey through that. Catherine is actually one of my coaching clients, and she's been around for a little bit. So I know her story pretty well, but I'm excited that she's willing to share this story with all of you. Catherine, why don't you start out and introduce yourself? Tell everybody just a little bit about who you are, where you're from, what you do
Okay.
briefly.
Hi, guys. I'm Catherine. I am located in Virginia Beach, Virginia. I'm an equine and senior photographer. Most of my seniors are equestrians anyway, so I end up doing a lot of horses, a little dogs here and there. And I joined Karinda's program about 2 years ago, and she has helped me so much growing my business. And I don't know where I would be without her.
Oh, I love that. I am super proud of you. You know that. And I'm pretty excited for all the big things you're doing right now. So let's start out and talk about this whole idea of being uncomfortable, and I'll share a little bit of backstory of growth and being uncomfortable and how really uncomfortable moments are truly the things that kind of make or break us. Um, I'm going to start out by saying today that being uncomfortable isn't a bad thing, and that pressure isn't a bad thing. Sometimes in those uncomfortable moments, that's when we are forced to do the big scary thing. We have two decisions in life, and we can take action or we can sit and be content in the status quo, even when the status quo might not be the best. And sometimes it takes status quo becoming to the point where we're like, I cannot physically do this another day. I cannot live this life. I can't continue. I either have to do it or I have to make a major change and go back to something that I might not really want to do either, but it's comfortable and it's content. So sometimes we let this fear of the unknown stop us from doing anything at all. And oftentimes we sit here and just let these opportunities pass us by. We wait until we're in those make or break moments to make the choice. I like to say we wait for those moments to put on our big girl panties and to make it work, or we just fall over and we wave our flag and we're like, I'm done, I give up. So, Catherine, have you seen this in your life where you're just like, I can't do this? I either have to make it happen or I'm just like, you know what? Screw it. I'm done.
Yeah. I started my photography business kind of on the side, and I always had it as, "Oh, this is nice money. It, like, helps the household." It wasn't anything like I could survive on my own, and I went through a divorce, and all of a sudden, I was like, "I have to make this work." I've always been a shy person. I was okay just being comfortable, and that divorce really pushed me like, "Okay, I have to do this. I need to get uncomfortable. I need to grow. I need to figure this out." So that's what really pushed me to make this work and get out of my comfort zone and grow, learn. And then that's at some point I found you. And I was like, this is the person I need.
I love that. Outside of your business, have you seen this same like pattern in your life in other places too, where it's, I'm in this position where it's make or break now?
I guess in personal relationships and stuff, I would say I've been in similar situations. It's, I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like whenever I look back at my life, I see a lot of those really big moments that were like, this is this is it. This is life altering. This is a big thing. This is uncomfortable. This is has an opportunity to be really terrible, or I can choose to rise to the occasion and make it work. And I think one of the most vivid things that stands out in my mind is when I moved in high school. and I don't know that you know this whole story, Catherine, but my parents were divorced when I was a junior in high school, and I was super involved in FFA and 4-H and stuff. And when the divorce happened, I knew we were going to have to move, which would mean me moving high schools. And I had two options. I could wait till the end of the year, started a new school in the fall, may or may not be able to do all the activities I wanted to do because some of them started in the end of the year. Or I could be like, do the really big scary thing, which was move schools, uproot my life in the middle of high school, in the middle of the year, and just move schools. And we sat there, we talked about it, and I just remember being like, you know what? Let's just do it. I have one opportunity. And I remember getting to my new high school and the elections for FFA officer team were literally like the next week. And I knew that I had to move that week before so I could run and be involved and do all these things. And started at that new school. I did officer elections. I stood up in front of a room full of, I don't know, 50 or 60 other teenagers that are ruthless and relentless. And I stood up there, and for the first time in my life, I completely just laid everything out on the line. Like, I stood up there and gave a speech, and I was like crying in front of all these strangers that I didn't even know, on the hope that they would understand and see why this random new girl was here, like saying, yeah, let me help y'all, let me lead y'all. And it was one of those moments where I could have very easily just been like, you know what? This sucks. This is terrible. My life is ruined. I'm just going to go crawl in a hole. Or I was like, no, I'm going to have to figure out how to stand up and make this happen and do the freaking scary thing. And that was the scariest moment of my life. It sounds like it would be. And because of that, actually, that's how I met my husband. That's how I met Austin, was in my class, second period class at my new high school. So that's my husband for those of you listening that don't know. And I look back at that moment and I think that's the first huge, real pivotal time in my life where I went through something that was crazy and terrible. But I made the decision to do the scary thing and be uncomfortable, even when it felt like the worst thing in the world. But the results from that were so big. And I see that like time and time again in my business, like even something as simple as like putting a passion project out there or doing portraits at an event. Like, those types of decisions that I've made have not been things I've just sat around and been like, "Oh, maybe one day." It's been like, "You know what? This is scary and it feels terrifying." And because it feels scary and terrifying, maybe it's the right choice and maybe I just need to do it. So I feel like I've seen those things come up time and time again. I want to share a story about lobsters, which might sound weird, but I find this really interesting and I've heard other people talk about this. But lobsters, they actually grow until they are too big for their shells. And when they get too big for their shells, they're forced to let go of their shells. Essentially, they have to hide to protect themselves until their new shell grows back. And what you could say, and what you hear people talk about lobsters in this way, is lobsters are the most uncomfortable right before they go through a period of big growth. They're extremely uncomfortable. They have no other option but to cast off their shell, which is their safety net and what keeps them alive. And in order to grow, they have to be vulnerable. They have to be left without any protection. They have to just be essentially this blob of whatever a lobster is, muscle. I don't know. This blob that has absolutely no way to protect itself. And it's vulnerable and it's uncomfortable. But the lobster knows that in order to grow and to continue to live, they have no other option. And they trust that process over and over again in their life. And I think that's super, super cool, like revelation of us casting away these shells or these cages we've built around ourselves and our lives, both like personally and in our business sometimes. And I
Yeah.
read this the other night that Dr. Abraham Tversky, he tells a story that as soon as a lobster feels uncomfortable, or sorry, if lobsters had doctors, then as soon as a lobster felt uncomfortable, he would go to the doctor and he would get a painkiller and he would feel fine. And then he would never take his shell off. And he would continue that cycle for his entire life and never grow. And I was like, ooh, how many times I know I have, I can honestly say I have, how many times in our lives and in your life, like thinking about this, have now looking back, are you like, man, maybe I was that lobster that was just like going to the doctor, getting the painkiller, and being like, it's fine. I'll deal with it later. It'll go away. That uncomfortable moment, I'm sure it'll go away if I just ignore it and pretend like the universe is not trying to tell me that this is what I'm supposed to do.
Yes, I can totally identify with that.
So I think that in life, we outgrow the life, the mindset, the status quo that we're used to. But it takes getting rid of that thing in our comfort zone to really step up to move forward. I'm going to say this right now, which sounds really bad. Sometimes these things that hold us back are people. Sometimes they're external things around us, external situations, things, chaos that's happening. Sometimes it's ourselves, though. Sometimes it's ourselves. We get stuck sitting and worrying, and we wonder if we cast the shell away, will the new shell actually grow? And so I was thinking about this last night and I thought it's like we're sitting there being like, God, can I really trust you to take care of me and to promise that this shell is going to grow back the way you said it's going to grow? Because I don't really believe that there's a bigger plan and that the universe has this plan for me and that this is the way this is going. And we can essentially worry ourselves to death in that with our businesses and with our life and all of those things. So I wanted to give a bit of that, my thoughts on this first before we dive more into this, Catherine, and we talk about this. Tell me how you feel about the lobster now.
I that I totally identify with that, and it's like exactly how I was feeling when I was going through all these big changes. Like, I know I just have to get out there and grow and figure this out, and I was pretty much forced to do it, I was scared and I knew I was going to be uncomfortable, but I knew in my gut that it was the right decision. And I saw a quote the other day that was, what you're not changing, you're choosing. And I feel like that, like, I keep going, like, in all aspects of life, if you're not happy with anything, but you're not doing anything to change it, then you're choosing that situation. That kind of, I was like, that makes a lot of, it really resonates with me. But yeah, if you're not uncomfortable, you're probably not growing. And it takes a lot to push yourself out there to be uncomfortable and do the scary thing.
Yeah. I almost feel like it's safe to say that doing the scary thing in your business, something as simple as just like putting yourself out there in the early days of, like, I'm a photographer, I have a business. That's the first time we do it. But then also being like, I'm legitimate. Here are my prices.
Right.
And then I think the first time we do it is the hardest. And then you're like, oh, that felt really uncomfortable, but it worked. Maybe next time I feel uncomfortable, I should try leaning into that uncomfortable moment and just go with it and see what happens.
Yes. I feel like the more I put myself in uncomfortable situations, the easier it is to know, okay, this is going to work out and this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And it's still scary, but not as scary to get
Yeah.
out there and do those scary things.
I feel like this happens because I think that like growing up, I feel like we live in these little bubbles of our parents want to keep us safe. They don't want us to get hurt. They don't want us to fall. They don't want us to have challenges. And I know for me, I remember growing up thinking, and this goes back to my FFA days. I remember going to some sort of convention or something and hearing people speak. And I remember hearing their stories that they were talking about in their speeches. And I remember sitting there thinking, and I was probably like 15 or 16 years old. And I thought to myself, wow, these people have all these really sad stories and these impactful things to talk about. I've never been through anything like that. I don't have anything to share to talk about. I'll never be able to stand on a stage and give a speech like that. And then I remember the day when I woke up and I did. And I remember standing up there giving that speech and being like, I'm that person now. And yeah, it is powerful. And yeah, you can sit there and tell your story and make people cry. But it sucked to get to that point. But without going through that point, I also wouldn't be who I am and where I'm at today. So it's like learning to just, I think, lean into those things and not let them scare you away. In your situation, Catherine, tell me more about where you were at in your business in that moment. I know earlier you said like you were going through your divorce, you'd already been through your divorce. What phase was that at? And then you were like, I have got to make this work or else. Where were you in that moment?
Yeah, so I was freshly out, done with the divorce, living with my parents. I have a 4-year-old, or at the time he was 2 when I started, a 2-year-old little boy, and I was like, "I have to be able to provide. I don't wanna depend on somebody else to support us." So that is what, like, started my journey of changing my whole business structure. At the time, I wouldn't say I was cheap, but I was including all of the digitals, and I think my work has been consistent over the past 10 years or so, but I felt like my work was good enough, and I was like, "I could be charging more." And I had in the back of my head for years, I really need to sell wall art and albums, but I don't know how to do it, and I don't even know what to sell, and I don't know what to charge. And so I had always just pushed it off, like, "Oh, I'll figure it out later." And I kept on with the giving away all the digitals. And then at that time when I was like, "Okay, something has to change," I think it was a Facebook group that you posted in, and it was a screenshot of a Stripe sale that you were like, "This is just the session fee, and they're gonna spend a lot more money on wall art." And I was like, "Okay, I need to figure out how she's doing this. If she can do it, I can do it." And then I started following you and then started your program. And it's been like, I could have figured it out eventually on my own, but having you to guide me and help me figure out like the products and pricing and working off the percentages has been amazing. And then the mindset also, that's another huge part of it.
Yeah. How many years had you been in business before you met me? Before your divorce?
I wasn't like officially a business. I think my first paid photo shoot was maybe like 2012. And then I was like moving from there. So maybe 2016, I actually made it. I was like a legitimate business.
Uh-huh.
And so, yeah, it had been 5 years or so.
Yeah. Why do you think that it took so long for you to get to that point where you were like, I have to do it? Was it just because you were in that situation where it was make or break, or was there something other reason that you didn't do it before then?
I feel like I didn't know if I could really make enough money as a photographer because that's like this everyone, oh, you're an artist, you don't make money. And at the time, my husband didn't believe it either. So that held me back. Um, because I was like, I just need to keep my real bookkeeping job and I'll do this on the side and it'll be fun. Um, and then once I got him out of the picture, and then I was like, okay, game on. This is gonna happen. So yeah.
Yeah. I think what you said right there is like, my husband didn't believe in me. I think that is something that a lot of people face. Um, a lot of people who have amazing husbands. There's nothing wrong with them. This is not a man bashing thing. But like a lot of women have amazing husbands that are lovely people. They just have grown up being told by the world and everyone else that photography isn't a real job and photographers don't make money. So when they are sitting there saying those things to you, for people that are listening to this, just know that they're only saying that because they don't know the possibilities. And I think
Yeah,
that
100%.
some of you who are listening to this too, you might not even fully know the possibilities yet. And I will say it time and time again, there is no reason that each and every person listening to this, if you have the right tools, the right pricing, the right client experience, the right mindset to go with all of it, there's no reason you can't have a six-figure business. There's no reason that you can't have a multi six-figure business. There's no reason you can't build a $500,000 or $1,000,000 photography studio. I remember whenever I realized there's a possibility to do something like that, I think I was at like a workshop or a conference or something, and I overheard somebody saying something about, "Oh, did you see so and so's new car?" And they were like, "He's parked next to so and so with his new car." And I was like, "Huh?" And then I started like, learning about these people, and I was like, "Oh wow, they make real money as photographers. That's crazy. Did you know this could happen? Because I didn't." And everyone was like, "Oh yeah, there's people that do that." And I was like, "Okay, cool. I can make this happen. This is what I want to be able to do." So I think that if y'all were listening to Catherine say that and you were like, "I feel that in my heart and soul, my spouse does not support me or my significant other does not support this and they think this is crazy," just know that it's probably because they don't know the possibilities. So, how would you say, Catherine, is a good way to deal with those people around you that just don't trust that it's possible? What would you say to those people who are in that situation who might have family, significant others, friends that are like, "That's crazy. There's no way."
You really just have to ignore all of the negative comments and don't let that get in. You just have to know that it's possible for you and don't let any other negative comments stop you. And it's mostly they're saying it because they don't know what's possible. And they have no idea that there's photographers that make $1,000,000. And they probably think it's that doesn't happen for everybody. It's only the select few, but you're the driver of your own future and you can make it happen if that's really what you want to do. And you just have to stay on that track, keep your blinders on, and don't listen to anybody else that's hating on you or saying that's not possible because you're the only one that can determine that.
Yeah, I 100% agree. My own mom was my hater in the early years. No, it's not, excuse me. She was definitely my hater in the early years. She's like, "Karinda, I can't believe you have a college degree and you're just going to be a photographer. That's crazy. You should go use your degree." And now I'm like, "So mom, what do you think about that whole use my degree thing?" And she's okay. And I'm like, "Technically, I use my degree. I learned about horses in college and I take pictures of horses."
Yeah, that counts.
Tell me this. When you were sitting there in that moment, do I make the decision to invest in myself and my business and finally learn and do the thing and make this business legitimate? Or do I keep paddling along? Or do I go and just keep working full time in my accounting job? What were your fears in that moment, if you remember? I know it was a couple years ago.
But I think for me, I didn't want to give up the freedom of having like flexibility. I wanted to be able to keep my son at home for because he was only 2 at the time. I didn't want him to have to go to daycare if I went back to bookkeeping full time. So that was like a major thing. I was like, this has to change because I'm not gonna settle for any less. I want to be my own boss and make my own schedule and do really what I'm passionate about and what I feel like I'm like meant to do. That was a major thing. And I was like, I know this is scary. And I feel like that I was like, because it scares me, I need to do it. I need to get out there and just see where it goes and make this happen.
Yeah. I think that's really an important thing to remember is fear is a sign that we're on the edge of our comfort zone. So, like, when we are no longer comfortable, we become fearful because we don't know what's ahead. And I think that learning to recognize fear is you right on that ledge where you're about to do something great. And the opportunities that lie on the other side of fear are so much greater. And we just lean into that. And if you know who Mel Robbins is, she has a book called The 5 Second Rule, and she says, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. So if we just learn to 5 second rule this and be like, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, I'm doing it. And we recognize that the potential for growth and the potential for positive on the other side of fear is way higher than the potential for failure. Most of the time, the reason we fail is just because we don't do the thing. It's not because we tried to do it. Most of the time, if we try to do things, we're going to get there. We fail when we sit and we have inaction because we're paralyzed by the fear instead of excited by the fear. Something that just popped in my head, and I think it's Mel Robbins who talks about this, is excitement and anxiety are the same feeling inside of us. I think I'm saying that. Have you read that book, Catherine?
Yes, it's been a while, but that does sound right. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like this whole idea that when you're feeling excited about something, the like tightening of your chest, the increased heart rate, the butterflies you feel in your stomach are actually the same type of feelings you get when you're anxious about things. And sometimes we can confuse anxiousness with excitement.
Yeah.
And I started, whenever I read that book, it was years and years ago. I started asking myself when I felt those feelings, is this really like anxiety and fear, or could this just be excitement about what's ahead? And that's been really helpful for me in those moments of, "Ugh, oh my goodness, I don't know. I don't know if I should do this." Was actually excitement. I'm actually excited about the opportunity. I'm excited what's on the other side. So that might be helpful for those of you that are listening to this and you struggle with that. Like I do.
I and also asking what's the worst that could happen if everything does go wrong and this doesn't work out? You're still going to be okay. It's a mistake that you'll probably learn from. You'll do it better the next time. But knowing that, looking back and saying, man, I should have done that 5 years ago is worse than like the fear of what could actually happen if you take the leap and do it.
Yeah. So I have a fun question. What do you think would have happened if 5 years ago, instead of 2 years ago, you would have done the scary thing that much sooner? And you would have been like, you know what? I have to make money. I'm going to invest in help. I'm going to get a business coach. I'm going to learn how to sell wall art. I'm going to do the thing. What do you think would have happened if you would have done it sooner?
I would be so much further along. I've missed out on so much money because of I just didn't know what I was doing. I was just flying by the seat of my pants. And my business would be a lot bigger than it is right now. It'll eventually get there, but I'm a few years behind where I could be.
Yeah. Something that I talk about a lot, and I was actually thinking about this yesterday, is like the idea of planning for the business you want, where you want to be 10 years down the road, not for where you want to be tomorrow. How has like keeping that bigger picture and that bigger vision in mind of like where you're going way down the road versus just like trying to make those little moves every year to get to the next little step? How has
Yeah,
that been?
having the whole planning aspect has been huge because it really makes you sit down and look at your numbers and know what you need, how many clients you need to get where you want to go, and make plans for if you want to hire somebody, what do you have to do to get there? You're going to need help if you're going to grow a huge business. And so that's been huge, like sitting down and looking, doing client audits and really figuring out your numbers, and then also being able to plan for like in 10 years, I want to make this much money and this is what I need to do to get there. That helps so much versus just like, oh, I made this much this year. Cool. Maybe I'll make a little bit more next year, and not really having a plan or an idea of like where you want to go.
Yeah.
So,
So since you set your business up 2 years ago, essentially, when you started setting up your pricing, your client experience, all of those things, what has the time since you're initially getting all the pieces together been like? Have you changed a whole lot? Has it just been like making things slightly better? Have you burnt down your whole business and reinvigorated it multiple times in the last 2 years? What has that been like now versus before you had the business education?
so before I had it, I was like changing packages every once in a while, changing things around. Since I got your coaching, I set it up and I've made small little tweaks here and there to make things better or more streamlined. But for the most part, it's stayed the same. Like pricing has stayed the same. I've made a little adjustments in my products, but for the most part, they've stayed the same. And it's just a matter of scaling that and growing that, versus changing everything every few months or every year because I don't know what I'm doing. So now it's like I have a plan, I know what I'm doing, and it's set, and I don't have to keep reinventing the wheel.
Yeah. How would you say like marketing comes into play? Like every photographer I talk to, and I remember when I was in this place, they're like, I need marketing. And I'm like, but we have to look at your business first. So now that you've been through this process and you've worked on the business first, and the business is good and solid, like how has your belief or opinions about where marketing comes into this, or how has marketing become easier or different since the business is in line?
Yeah. So before I pretty much just used social media and word of mouth to market. I didn't do a whole lot of marketing. Now I never went to any live events or events and then anything like that. Since I met you, I've been to events and I've gotten so many more clients and really just networked and met more people. And it's been huge to grow and get new clients that are qualified clients, not just people that want all the digitals. So it's been awesome to actually go in person because I never did that before and talk to people face to face and let them see my products and see the quality. I probably never would have done that before. I didn't even know where to go, what to do, what to set up, things like that. It's definitely way better than relying on social media.
Yeah. Yes, for sure. How many different ways do you think you're marketing your business now outside of social media? Is it like just events? Do you have like 5 or 6 other ways outside of events you're also marketing, or what does that
Um,
look like?
yeah, I've donated to silent auctions. I do email marketing, obviously the in-person events. Trying to think what else. I do giveaways every once in a while. But yeah, all of that and a lot of it is word of mouth that comes from all of the things that I've built up and their referrals, and those are always awesome clients because they've already heard about my business and my process and they've seen. I think that's the best form of marketing is being referred because whoever's referring you trusts you and they're giving the best information. People believe other people versus businesses. So,
Yeah, I love that. I think it's just like showing up as a person and just being present everywhere, like just showing up. Because I think like often it's easy to just hide behind social media. I'm posting on social media. Where are the people? But I think when people see you in your face and your business, they're like, "Oh, hey, Catherine." Like you're a person now. You're not just a Facebook page they follow. So I think that's really important. Tell me this. What was your biggest fear when it came to raising your prices and charging more money?
I was worried people would think I'm crazy and say, "Are you serious? This is how much it is for a canvas or an album." But with that comes like you give your clients a better experience and you're serving them better. I actually had somebody at a horse show I saw a month ago who was a past client before I did all of my wall art and albums. And she was like, "Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Like when you sent me the gallery full of images, it was really overwhelming trying to choose which ones I wanted to print." And I was like, "That's really good to hear because now I help walk you through everything and help you narrow everything down and choose your favorites, how to print them, etc." So that was good to hear because I'm like, okay, so my clients do see the value in walking them, like really holding their hands through the whole process and giving them a better experience. And I think people, they definitely value that um, because they're not photographers. They don't know anything about products and wall art sizes. And it is overwhelming looking at a gallery of 100 images, trying to figure out which ones you love the most to print and what to do with them.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that's so important. I can't pick out pictures of my own family. If someone sends me an online gallery, I'm like, I don't know. I can't decide. And they're like, have you picked your photos? No, I haven't. I can't decide. I need professional help. They're like, Karinda,
So,
you're a
yeah,
photographer.
it has been awesome offering that extra experience. And nobody has looked at me and said, "Oh my gosh, you're crazy. I'm not paying those prices." That's
So
been
tell me, what was the transition like whenever you went from shoot and burn to selling products and not including the digitals? How did that happen in your business? Was it like really hard for you to figure out how to make that switch, or was it a simple thing for you to do?
it was pretty simple, especially with you helping laying out the whole process and what guiding me along the way of what to do. The hardest part was like getting over the fear of talking to people on the phone that I don't know. And now it's okay, cool. I'm not worried about it anymore. But that was like the most scary thing. And then the first time you do an image reveal, you're like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? Are they going to love the images? But I love that you get to see your clients' reactions when you show them and you're going through the gallery with them. That's been awesome because before I would just send a gallery and sometimes it's crickets, sometimes it's, oh yeah, we love the images, but you don't actually get to see their emotions and their expressions when they see them.
Yeah, I like say it's like a drug whenever you start to do image reveals and you're like, I get such a high. I know that sounds weird, but you're like, I get such a high from sitting there and getting to hear my client's reaction to every single image. I also think the cool part about it is that you also start to realize what things clients actually really truly love and what things they don't love.
Yes, I
'Cause
definitely noticed that too.
you notice trends. You're like, those artsy photos are really cool, but people don't want to buy them. Or, man, this one pose I do with the person like kneeling, for some reason, people never like that one, even though I love it. And like,
Yeah.
you actually will start to like shift things. And I think the way you shoot a little bit based on knowing your client's real reactions to things. So I
Yes,
think that's also,
100%.
yeah. So tell me this. When was the moment that you were like, screw it. I am hiring Karinda. She's going to be my business coach. I have to learn from her. Do you remember that moment, what that was like?
I'm trying to remember because I had followed you for just a little bit. I
Uh-huh.
had seen some of your free stuff and I was like, she really knows what she's talking about. I I need somebody to guide me because this is never going to happen if I don't just find somebody to show me like what I'm doing or how to do it. So I don't remember. I don't remember exactly.
Was
I
it
just
like
knew
a
I was like, I want to be able to do what she's doing, and I just have to do it. And it's scary, but
yeah.
yeah, I just made the decision.
Did you teeter back and forth with it for a while, or was it just, "Nope, I know this is the thing."
I think I thought about it for a few days,
Her.
and then I was like, you know what? I just I need to do it because if I don't do it, nothing's going to change, and I'm going to be in the same place, and that's not what I need. So
Yeah.
I just was like, this. I'm doing the scary thing.
So tell me this, how has making these changes in your business impacted your life? Like, your personal life, like, your ability to do things? Have you seen these ripples over into other parts besides just your business?
I definitely feel more confident just in general, like as a person. That's been huge. And then the mindset stuff carries over to your personal life, but also just like financially, obviously, that's been a huge benefit. And that's why we run a business because we want to make money and be able to support ourselves. Um, but yeah, just all of it really affects your personal life, not just your business that you teach. Yeah.
I feel like, so Kai, my child, is now 2.5, and oh my gosh, it is hard. Having kids is just, it puts a whole 'nother level of things into life that I didn't realize. I knew, but I didn't realize until you have a 2.5-year-old, because 2.5-year-olds are just something else. And I've always really admired your ability to juggle being a mom, having your kiddo home with you, and just like doing all of the things while you're running a business, and doing some of the accounting stuff in the beginning, and also doing editing work for other people, and also the ability to show up on live coaching calls and to watch the course and do the work. Like, I always really admired that, watching you go through this journey of like just seeing you figure out how to make it work. What is your advice for those other people who are sitting there feeling, I have so many things to juggle. I have kiddos, I have jobs, I have all of these things on my plate. How do I make time and how do I handle all of this?
You definitely have to prioritize what is important and what needs to be done. Like, I hardly ever sit down and just watch TV. I would like instead, I would just watch like a course video or something, or I would listen to something while I'm working. And that's, I don't really know how I did it. I don't know if I have really good advice for that because I look back and I'm like, I remember it was like one of the first live calls that we did.
Mhm.
And it was a crazy month for editing, which we haven't really talked about. I did editing. I was like, I did $8,000 a month in just editing this month. It was like in 2021 when everybody was catching up from 2020. So there are all these weddings pushed to the next year. And you were like, one of these days you're going to make $8,000 from a client and you're not going to want to edit anymore. I'm like, I think I'm almost at that point right now. I only have a few photographers that I still edit for, but I'm like, yeah, this is a lot more work than doing my portrait business.
Yeah. What did it feel like for you the first time you had an image reveal and you took someone through that process?
I was so nervous to start out and help. Obviously, I went through your course and you helped me like look with the process and pro select. So I knew what to do, but I was so nervous of like, how are they going to react? And they loved it and they were so thankful that I helped them sort through the images and take the guesswork out of what size wall art to order. So it was scary in the beginning, but at the end, I was like, that really was awesome. And I can't wait to do the next one because it is, like you said, it's like a drug. You're like, this is awesome. I love seeing my clients' reactions and being able to serve them in that way.
Yeah. And your first client that you did a reveal with was also a client that already had paid for and gotten all their digital files with their session fee, right?
Yes.
And
Um,
they were still excited about you saying, "Hey, I'm gonna do this for you," right?
Yeah, I was like, "Hey, do you guys wanna do a planning call? I'm offering this new thing." They hopped on Zoom, they were really excited about it and appreciative that I helped go over outfits and all of that, like, take the guesswork out of what to do, how to get your horse ready. So they really appreciated that, and I was like, "Oh, this is cool that they really liked that." And it wasn't included in their original package, but they took advantage of it, and that really made a difference. So I was like, "Okay, people want this, and they need the extra help for, like, planning and
Mhm.
all of the things." So
And your clients, even though they had already gotten all their digitals and they knew they were getting those, what was their reaction when you presented them with the opportunity? Do you want to buy wall art through me? Do you want to buy albums through me?
yeah, so they were the first clients that I showed my products to, and I was like, "If you want, I can print. We can order wall art and albums. You don't have to worry about it." They ended up ordering few pieces of wall art and 2 albums, and they spent $16,000. Even though they already had all of the digitals, they could go print them on their own, but they saw the value in my products and having it done for them professionally, and I was blown away. I was, like, shaking after that. I can't believe this. Is this really happening?
Yeah, obviously that was crazy and amazing. Um, and I think that those giant sales are definitely out there and they're possible for anybody, the situations where you least expect them normally. What do you find like most of your clients buy from you now? Are most of your clients buying wall art or most of them buying wall art and albums? What does that look like for your business now?
100% albums. Everybody loves the albums because I'm an overshooter and it's a problem. Or maybe it's not so much of a problem, but they end up loving so many images that they're like, we have to get all of these. So obviously the album is the best way. And then at least one piece of wall art, if not a set of wall art. But yeah, that's usually what, and I do a lot of seniors. So the albums are more geared toward for the seniors.
Yeah. So tell me this, like before, what was your average client spending with you before Corinda?
I would say 4 to $600.
Okay. What do you think your average client is now, roundabout?
3 to 4,000 for a portrait client, and then mini sessions are like 1,500 to 2,000. So it's a huge difference.
That's amazing. I love that. And what would you say? Do you still feel good about the fact that you can still serve those people that were your clients back in the shoot and burn days when you had the lower $400 to $600 session fee with everything included? Do you think that those clients are still some of your clients, like those same people, or do you feel like you completely alienated those people when you made the shift?
I think a little of both. I've had repeat clients come back and I was surprised how much they spent because before they got all the digitals and I was worried about what they would think, but they spent a bunch of money. And then some other people are like, oh no, that's more than we want to spend. So we'll go with somebody else. And I'm like, that's totally fine. I understand. No hard feelings.
Yeah. Crazy to think like from a $400 sale to 4,000, like how many clients you would have had to do with your old pricing to get what you get now. And I always think even just like one canvas, what do you think the most expensive piece of wall art that you sold is?
Like $4,600.
To
Yes.
think like
For
how
one
many
image.
how many clients you would have had to photograph, how many sessions, how many images you would have had to edit to make $4,600 before.
Yeah.
That's always like one of those moments when I'm like, pinch me. Did I just make that much money from one photo? And
Yeah.
they're really not, for those of you listening to this, like a $4,600 canvas is a very large, very nice piece of art. Not like it cost us like $10 to print one of these pieces of art. It does cost us quite a bit of money to make these things, but still, we are making profit on that. So I think that's a really cool feeling. Tell me this. Earlier, we talked about having people around you that doubted you and what that felt like. What does your support system look like now that allows you to run this business, be a mom, be a friend? I feel like you're really good at like playing all of the roles and being really good at doing all of these things. And I also feel like you have a really cool support system around you. So, what is that like for you to have those people around you now that support you?
Yeah, all of my family is a huge support system. They believe in me, even if they might have thought I was crazy in the beginning. Now that I'm like, I sold a canvas for $4,600. They're like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. But they always knew I could do it. They just are like amazed that people spend so much money on wall art and albums and things like that. But it's awesome knowing that I do have that support system and my family, my friends believe in me. I don't share a whole lot of financial information with everybody because I know some people are just like they don't need to know. But yeah, it's definitely nice having that support system and knowing people are behind me and there for me.
Yeah. Let me ask you this question. How do you feel about this whole idea of, I know some people struggle with, what do I do when my friends want to hire me? Or what do I do if I'm too expensive for my friends and my family? What are your thoughts on that? Have you encountered any of this in your business and how have you dealt with it?
Yes, I have a couple of friends that I've done portraits for forever. And with the new setup of wall art and albums, I still offer that to them. I'll give them a little bit of a discount, but it's hard. I've heard you say before, you would rather work for strangers than with friends. And I totally agree because it does make it a little more awkward when you get to the financial part of it. So most of my friends, I'll be like, I'll do this for you. I'll work out something special. So it's definitely a gray area that's hard to navigate sometimes.
Yeah. I I'll say I have like my sisters, for example, or like my best friend from my entire life. Sometimes I'll do things for, but I try to have like really good boundaries with those things. And I'm also like totally cool with people I know not using me as their photographer. I don't need people that I know to use me.
Right.
I would rather let friendships and stuff be that. And I would rather them go find somebody else to be their photographer. I would rather tell them who to go use. I would rather make recommendations for them to go use for the most part than like crossing those wires and risking weird situations. But I do have a really, I have a policy now. So my policy is I'll waive your session fee, I'll give you a print credit, and then I'll give you a small discount on any products if you want them. So I'm like giving them a generous gift, but I'm also like have boundaries there because it's very easy to get in weird places.
Yeah, I like that. I need to come up with a policy like that.
Yeah, for sure. But also too, I think part of it's just like being okay with you not being the photographer for all of your friends.
100%.
Well, why don't you go to someone, the really important things, your friend's kid is graduating from high school and they need senior pictures. That's important. That's a big milestone. Or like maybe family pictures every once in a while, but I don't need to be the every year come to me and do those things kind of person. So on that note, how do you think that relates to your client? Have you had yet those like repeat clients that come back for different animals or anything like that? Or what has that looked like for you?
Yeah, I've had a few, definitely like with seniors, if there's siblings, then I did their older sibling, the younger siblings coming back for their senior portraits. Or if somebody has a couple different horses or dogs, I've done multiple of them. So I definitely have repeat clients for sure.
Yeah. I same thing here, like, I have started doing senior pictures for, like, younger siblings of girls who rode horses, and I did their senior pictures. Now their siblings are graduated, and I'm doing their senior portraits, but they are not horse girls. Or, like, I've done a younger sibling's pictures with the horse, and now the mom's hired me to do the non-horsey senior. How many of your clients I know you do some non-horse clients too, right?
Mhm.
Still, what percentage of your business do you think is non-horse stuff still? And do you think that your non-horse clients invest just like your horse clients, or do you think that there's a big difference between those two people?
I would say maybe 30% are non-horse clients, but if they're my seniors, usually some kind of animal is included in the session. And for the seniors, they still spend a bunch of money. If it's just, say, a dog session or a boy senior that
Mhm.
he's not super excited about portraits, and the mom's, oh, I just need a couple prints,
Right.
then the sales aren't as big. But for the most part, I think it's pretty across the board. Like if I do a full portrait session, they spend the same amount.
Yeah. So are you in the bowl camp? I don't know. Are you in I think that's wrong. So let me start that over. Are you in the idea of I'm a horse photographer, I will only do like horses and pet, or are you just like to the point where you're like, I'll do whatever now. If they're my client, they're my client. I will do it. What's your opinion on that?
I still want to stick to the equestrian side of things or the
Huh.
seniors. I don't love doing families, but if it's like a horse family, then I'm like, yeah, no problem. We'll do some
Mhm.
shot of family. But just to do like only a family session, like that's not my favorite thing. But I guess if I knew like they were really good clients, I would definitely do that. But I don't get as much joy from it as capturing the bond between a horse and rider or
Right.
high school senior with their dog or whatever it may be.
Yeah. I have started doing a lot more family sessions within my animal sessions, doing a girl with her horse, but also doing the entire family. I started incorporating that a lot more. And it was funny, I was looking at my sales the other day and I noticed my most recent canvas sales primarily have been family. I was like, that's weird. Not even with horses in them. But I thought that was super interesting. And I did an extended family session recently with three groups of families. And I don't know how many people, like 30 people or something, maybe a lot of people. Maybe it wasn't 30. With a lot of people. And, like, that was so outside of my comfort zone of what I normally do, but it was also, like, really good to do something different
Mhm.
because I do so much of the same over and over again. So, yeah, I've become that person now, and I'm like, "You know what? Like, if they wanna hire me, cool, I'll do it. As long as it's in my wheelhouse, then I'll do it. And if as long as they're good with my style and they know what my style is, then that's amazing." So, yeah, I just wanted to briefly touch on that today. Um, so what kind of advice would you leave anybody with that's listening to this today that's I'm at this pivotal moment, or maybe not even at a pivotal moment. Maybe they're where you were at 6 years ago when you weren't at that pivotal moment, but you were just trying to piece it together and make it happen. What would you say to those people and what advice would you give to them?
I would say you need to figure out where you want to be in 5 years, 10 years. And if you need help getting there, don't hesitate to get the help because it's going to make you go so much faster. And it's like a shortcut to versus figuring it out on your own. Learn from other people that have done it, learn from their mistakes, and just take the leap. If you really want something to change, you have to be the one to change it and do something different. You can't just expect things to change without changing, like, making a different move or learning something new, getting out of your comfort zone. Um, if If it scares you, I would lean into it instead of run away from it. And if you feel it in your gut, just do it and you won't, I don't think you'll regret it. It's been like 2 years now. And I'm like, I wish I did this 10 years ago. If I had found you 10 years ago, I would have been like, yes, I need to do this because I need help.
If you would have found me 10 years, I don't think you would have wanted to have found me 10 years ago.
Well, yeah.
Let's see. I was in like year 2 of business 10 years ago. I probably was not doing a very good job 10 years ago myself.
Maybe 5 years ago.
5 years ago. Yeah, let's say that. Um, I love that. What would you say to people who are listening to this that are like, I really want to do something like this, but I don't see how. I don't see how I can find the time. I don't see how I can get the people around me to support me. I don't see how I can just spend this money right now when there's other things that are priorities. What would you say to those people?
The financial part can definitely be scary. You will 100% make your money back with your program. I made it back so quick and it's been tenfold. But coming up with the money from the get-go, if you don't have it, even I would say take out a loan or borrow it from somebody and it will pay itself back so
I
fast.
Have you heard Jamie's story? Jamie made a presentation for her family, and she
Yes.
made a presentation and asked her parents to let her borrow money so she could do coaching with me. So you could play Jamie. I keep telling her she needs to find the presentation because I want to see this presentation that she used to convince her parents
Yeah.
that she needed an education loan. So yeah, what would you say to the people who like are surrounded by people who are doubting them right now?
You just can't listen to them and you just have to stay within yourself and trust your gut. And like I said, put your blinders on and just go for it.
Yeah,
You're not going to change their mind. They're not going to all of a sudden be like, oh, yeah, I think you should do it if this whole time they don't believe that you can make any money doing it. So I would just you have to do what's best for you and not worry about what other people think.
yeah. What would you say? You said something about putting your blinders on, and I use this term a lot with other photographers. Like I always said, put your blinders on to what other photographers are doing. What would you say to people who are like out there who they have photographer friends who are doing things differently, or they have photographer friends who are like, that's crazy, or they see like all of these different ways of doing business in all the Facebook groups and they're getting all the conflicting advice. Like, how does that person start to figure out where their heart actually lies and what's actually good for them versus just watching what everyone else is doing?
Yeah, I get like you just have to really figure out how you're feeling without any of the outside influence and your gut will lead you. I'm a true believer in your gut is not wrong and your gut's
Mm,
going to lead you down the path that you're meant to go. And with the other photographer, like any other photographer that I know that does something different, I like try to educate them and be like, hey, you could do this. And it's totally fine if they don't want to, but there is another option instead of shoot and burn, if
mm.
that's the case. But yeah, I would just say you just have to trust yourself.
Yeah. Do you think the fact that you are like successful now and you're making money, do you think it has changed other people's perception of you at all? Or have you like felt any of those weird feelings like that?
I think my friends definitely see it. And they were probably before, they never said it to me, but they probably thought, you can't like make a living off of photography. And now they're like, wow, you're really doing it. Like, I'm so proud of you. This is amazing. And I push them to get out of their comfort zone and do things if they're not happy in their career. Why don't you do something else? And I'm the encourager to change things and follow your heart and your passion, and money will follow.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think too, it's like when we live in a state of, oh my gosh, I'm so scared. I don't know. I can't spend this money. I can't invest in this. I can't do this. I don't have the time, I don't have the like all these things. Like we live in this closed off, constricted place and we're like, nothing's working. But at the same time, we're also like so balled up in a ball that nothing could work because we are so like impenetrable to everything around us that even if money was hitting us in the forehead and clients were banging on our door, we wouldn't notice it. Um, and so I would just encourage those of you that are listening to this that have maybe been sitting in a place of fear or you were feeling uncomfortable and you've decided to like the lobster, if the lobster went to the doctor and got a painkiller, he would stay there, right? If you've been living in that place, it's just like start to open up your heart, your soul, your possibilities, and recognize and start to just say, these things might be possible. These things might be possible. Maybe I could do this. Maybe I could make money. Karinda's saying this, Catherine's saying this, like over and over again, like people are doing this, people are making money. Maybe I can. And start to open your heart and your soul to that idea and just be okay with that and start to give yourself permission to dream about the possibilities of what that can look like. Because once you start to dream and think, man, if I'm able to do that, I can quit my other job. I can keep my kids at home. I can hire somebody to clean my house. I can go on those vacations I've been wanting to go on. Those types of things get us excited and they start to open us up to maybe if I can do this, all these other things will happen for me. So I would encourage y'all to really think on that and look at the possibilities and the opportunities that are in front of you. Thank you so much, Catherine, for joining us. Is there anything else that like you just feel like is on your heart that you just feel like you need to share today before we come to an end? I always like
Um,
asking people that.
I don't think so. Other You are getting into what you just said. That gets into the mindset stuff that I love that you include in your program because that's such a huge part of it is like really getting to that place where you believe like you can have that dream life that you envision. So that's so huge. And that has affected my business and my life.
Mm,
So I love that. And it's really gotten me into that whole world of like energy and frequency and all of that. That's huge that everybody, it's woo, but it's actually science. Um, so that is definitely huge. And I love all of the books that you've recommended on that have really helped. You're a badass. I love that book.
yeah. Yeah, that's a good one. In the beginning, did you like think all of that stuff was crazy or really in the beginning were you a believer in it?
I think I was like, this is different. Like I've never really looked into it before, but knowing like that it's actually science, it's proven. And the more I get into it, the more I'm like, wow, this is crazy. Like, why aren't we taught this in school?
Oh my god.
Um, yeah, at first I was like, I don't know about this. But then the more I got into it, I was like, this is amazing. And it's totally life changing.
Yeah. It's really cool. I agree. I think that if I could leave one impact on this world, it would be like to help people realize, hey, our brains are built in this really cool way, and we have the ability to change the way our brains are made. Um, we have the ability to make things better. We also can totally, literally, physically make ourselves ill by choosing to stay in this space that isn't good. And I think that's really important to remember. And I think that in the business space too, it's not talked like there's people that teach business and there's people that teach like how to take pictures. And then there's like people that are like teach the woo and they're like, well, let me help you feel good. But I feel like there has to be a good mix of woo and practical business. And also like the woo has to be like based in real science of this stuff actually works, not just tell yourself you're going to make money and the money's going to appear on your doorstep. That's
Yeah.
not practical.
Right.
But it's that same idea, but from a practical business, logical standpoint. So yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. I am so excited and for you and everything you're doing. And I'm very proud of you. And if people want to check you out and follow your work, how can they find you?
I am Catherine with a C, Michelle with one L. It's catherinemichelle.com. And on Instagram and Facebook, it's Catherine Michelle Photo. Those are my most active accounts. I don't know if I have a TikTok, but I don't really get on there. Not yet, anyway.
I love it. And Catherine is extremely talented. And her editing style, I love her style. She's so good at editing. One day,
Thank you.
you know, podcast interview about how to be consistent and edit like Catherine.
Yes.
But yes, I am so incredibly proud of you and getting to see you grow the last couple of years and also your little guy growing up. And
Yeah.
also to some days I'm like, if Catherine could do this with a 2-year-old by herself, why can I not do this with a 2-year-old with help? Like, so you're my inspiration whenever Kai is being crazy, and I'm like, I can do it. I can do it. I can do it. So yes, I definitely am so glad you came into my life. And also I am very Catherine came to Nashville last year at imaging and she stayed in the condo and that was really fun. I was actually
Yes.
thinking about imaging that's coming up in January and it's in Louisville, I think.
Yeah.
And I was like, ooh, I need to decide what I'm doing if we're gonna go, if I'm gonna find somewhere fun to stay, if I'm gonna stay at the hotel. I need to plan all of these things. So that was really fun last year. So if y'all are listening to this and you were planning on going to imaging, keep an eye out closer to time because I'll try to do some sort of get together gathering thing at imaging like we did last year, hopefully. So thanks for joining us, Catherine. I am, I'll say it again, I'm so proud of you. Y'all are like my babies. And I'll honestly say this. I love my coaching clients like they're my babies. And I say that's super awkward, but they're my family and I love them fiercely. And we laugh together, we cry together sometimes, but that's what makes this cool. And that's why getting to be a business coach to people like Catherine and all of the other amazing coaching clients, Catherine has completely shown up as a coaching client. She has laid her heart out there. She has been transparent. She has done the work and she has been brutally honest when she needs to be and just so transparent and so always present in this experience. And I would say that's probably one of the reasons why Catherine has been able to be so successful in what she's doing is because I feel like she's truly shown up when she needed to and done the work and done it with her heart on her sleeve. And also, too, I'll say this when you find a business coach, be transparent, wear your heart on your sleeve, be a real person. Don't just be like the put together person when you're around them or you're talking to them or you're in those settings. Like, be brutally, honestly transparent with them because the reason that I am able to like help Catherine the way I am is because she's done that and I know who she is as a person and like her business is her and it's unique to her. So I would just leave all of y'all with that too is just show up, be transparent, wear your heart on your sleeve, be an honest, like true human being and find people around you who appreciate that and who you can feel good about being like that with. So I don't know why I felt the need to share that about you, Catherine, but I
Well, thank you.
I greatly adore that fact about you. So yeah. But it was so good talking to you. And make sure y'all check out the show notes. I will link to Catherine's social info and all those details. Sorry we talked so long today, but that's what happens whenever you're talking to people you love. Bye,
Yes.
guys.
Thank you.